oh, what's not to like? You create people, you create universes, you escape into your mind, you work out how things should be or how they are or how to understand stuff. I mean, I can't imagine not writing. I feel really sorry for people who don't like to read either. All I ever wanted to do growing up was be a writer. That's the earliest memory was that I was going to be a writer. I was sort of steered towards journalism, which I loved and did for about 13 years all over the newspapers in Ireland, UK, Australia. And I loved it. And I was writing stage plays at the same time, but I knew deep down what I wanted to write creatively, full time. And that took... It actually took the death of my sister Jill, that I was very, very close to and grew up with. And the suddenness of that and the trauma that caused made me reassess what I was doing with my life. I was 26, 27. So I saved up enough I worked for another year and a half as a journalist, saved up enough to survive for about a year and a half and gave up journalism to write full time. Which is how I ended up going to Leeds and doing screenwriting, how I ended up ultimately then coming back and doing books, which is where I started when I was 9. I wrote my first book when I was 9. So to end up in a place where I'm able to, most of the time, survive by writing and creating worlds and working with people on their own worlds when I'm working as a consultant is wonderful. It's magical and scary and exhausting and wonderful, basically. Yes, it's magical. I mean, if you watch a child who starts writing, and kids don't always have the confidence, but when they do start writing, they create stuff that we couldn't imagine. I mean, look, there's a limited number of words in the world, there's a limited alphabet that we're working with in English, and yet look, every single book is different, every single page that anybody writes, every diary page that somebody writes is different. No. If you looked at the shed out the back, there's so many projects that have never come to fruition or that don't quite work, but there's a germ in there. I mean, I must have the germs of 40 or 50 projects that I know have possibilities, but to actually have the time to actually make the work of draw that little germ out. So no, if you want to be a writer, you have to accept that a lot of the stuff you write is going to be crap. Because if you sit down thinking everything you're going to write is going to be perfect, you'd never write a word. You have to write the rubbish. You have to get rid of the junk that's in your head. I mean, sometimes, unless you actually write all the scenes that don't work, all the chapters that stink, the good chapters and the good words and the good writing won't come out. Okay, my first adult novel I gave to my sister to read, and she came back with, oh, it's really, really good, every character is you. There's my personality coming through, there's conversations I've had with my daughter. And there's nobody recognisable in any of my books, but things they've said or I've overheard or discussions we've had, you draw it all in, you don't actually know where it's all coming from. And the interesting thing about Dad's Red Dress is everybody identifies with different characters in it, and I don't know, that's really interesting because it tells you a lot about who they are or how they see themselves. Yes, which probably means I do a lot of editing. Which people, I envy people like Stephen King, who I know writes really fast, but he has them all worked out before he puts pen to paper, which must be wonderful. Because then you're just describing the story, you're just putting it down. Whereas I think a lot of the time I write to find out where that part of the story is going. I know where I want the whole story to go, but I do write very, very fast. And then I have days when I can't write anything, but I still write, because it's a muscle, you have to write every day. But on the days when it's fast and it flows, I mean, I've written stage plays or virtually overnight, when a voice has just come for me and you just sort of take dictation, and that is blissful. I write fast, but I also need to switch from projects. So I'll have about 5 or 6 projects on the go at any one time. And I think that keeps the writing fresh, because if you get tired of if you work too long on one thing, sometimes it gets a bit stale. You switch over to something else and you work on that for a couple of hours, and then you're really hungry to go back to the first one, and that seems to work for me. I wouldn't classify them, because the Dad's Red Dress has been read by children from 7 up and by adults in their 70s. it has sort of been classified, because the central character is 13, it has been put in the age bracket of 10 to 14, but there's nothing in it that would prevent anybody younger from reading it, or older, so I don't see why the protagonist being young would restrict the category it should go into.